Welcome back, everyone, to the FTEN X Academy. You are on the Round Peg Square Holes podcast. My name is Timothy Fair-Matthews, and tonight we have two legends with us. Legend number one, Fatman Scoop. Fatman Scoop is a two-time Grammy Award-winning record artist, promoter, and radio personality. He has done over 100 live shows across the world and from clubs to major tours. After the hit of the pandemic, travel hit a stop for Scoop, and he had to come up with a unique way to keep in touch with his fan base. Raj, our second legend, met Scoop over a decade ago, and they reconnected a few years back in Dubai and collaborated on a podcast called The Other People's Podcast. They now work together to convert Scoop's conversations with artists like Missy Elliott, Snoop Dogg, will.i.am from his Instagram content into a podcast itself. Tonight, we're talking about ways to make noise in a lockdown. I can tell that I know you two have certainly done that. Guys, it's absolutely awesome that you've taken the time to join us tonight and give us some value and knowledge to such a niche entrepreneur group in Dubai. I can't tell you how appreciative we are. So thank you so much. Guys, how are you, first of all?
Well, I'm all right. I'm, same thing, same hustle. Getting used to a new normal, not going out on a Friday and a Saturday. It feels really, really different. But you take your skills from one, if you have skill sets, you take them and you use them however it's needed. So, I mean, is it different? Yes. I will say this. I work twice as hard now in the pandemic than I did when there was no pandemic. I go to bed at 9 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and I wake up at 3:30 a.m. Eastern time. Wow. And the rest of the day is just editing videos, making thumbnails, positioning content. So the struggle goes on, and I interviewed LL Cool J last.
Has the audio dipped for anybody else?
Yeah, it's dipped for me. Scoop, can you repeat that last bit, mate? Sorry about
that. Basically, it's just a marathon. It's just a marathon. Yeah. It's something that you have to do day in and day out, and getting used to the new normal. And we will get back to a place where we're on the road again, but the culture will change and it will never be the same until it's not the same anymore. And what I mean by that is that 102 years ago, they had a pandemic, right? And that was followed by depression. And then they came out of it 10 years later, and it was like booming. But it's the same old thing happening all over again. We will go back to where we don't wear masks. We will go back to where we're not worried again. But it'll take, I think this is going to be a 5-year cultural shift.
Yeah. I mean, people are saying that what we're seeing is the spike to the virus. The recession hasn't even hit yet. We are in for a second wave, economic wave, and people that haven't used this time wisely. And this is what we're talking about all the time. Like, if you're not reinventing yourself now, then you're in trouble, because that effect of not doing something will compound. That will be a huge thing. So, I mean, talk us a little bit about what you guys have been doing. Because, Raj, I know you guys have been working furiously since the lockdown. You said you're up like most of the night, Scoop. So tell us a little bit about what you guys have been doing.
Yeah, I mean, so from my part, to answer the first question, like things have been great. I've heard almost unanimously from people for the last 1.5 years, 2 years, that when the next recession hits, it's going to make 2008 look like Disney World. And it does make 2008 look like Disney World, 2009, but nobody predicted it was going to be a pandemic. Now, Tim, you and I spend a tremendous amount of time talking on a weekly basis. Scoop and I spend a lot of time talking on a weekly basis. I very much believe that from a business strategy point of view, is very much like clay pigeon shooting. You have to shoot your gun 5 feet ahead of the clay pigeon so that it hits the target when it gets there. So we've always had a few business ideas in the chamber, like a few business ideas ready to go. whether they be in other industries or they be in the same industry that we're in, but they are maybe 5 months ahead or 1 year ahead. What COVID-19 has done has brought us forward 3 years in terms of working from home, forward 3 years in terms of e-commerce, forward 3 years in terms of the way that we consume content, forward 3 years, and then, you just carry on naming it. So from my perspective, I'm really excited because, my body is always in the year that we're in, but my mind is always 5-10 years out. And so I feel like it's time to go right now. It's like the best time ever. And I've been saying to people, and I say this respectfully to anybody who doesn't know me, because if you did, you'd understand what I'm saying. I don't mean in any disrespectful way. But aside from the sheer volume of biological threat, negativity, and death, like if you took that out, which you can't, I don't want to lower, like down rank it. But if you take that out, this is the perfect economic storm. And I just wish that we could have this level of economic and social change without losing so many people that we care about. Yeah.
I think it's all affected us in that way as well, mate. I mean, my business partner lost his father recently due to it. It's bleak times, but I mean, you have to push on, and you've got to reinvent. And it's what you do. Every hour you spend is important. It's the reason why we're up so late, right?
And to your question about working with Scoop, like Scoop is a untethered genius. Honestly, like if you look at the fact that on the drop of a dime he can interview anyone, as he has done. When I say a drop of a dime, I mean he just instigated IG Live. IG Live popped off in COVID. He took it to a whole other level. Missy Elliott, DMX, Snoop Dogg, like the all-star royalty list of hip hop artists and others, sports commentators, athletes, actors. It's just incredible, really what he's done. And one thing that I really like about working with Scoop is that he recognizes by his own admission, it's not a diss, that he can't do everything himself. And so he's just very good at calling up people and getting people around him motivated to work. And what we've done as creative content agency is taken his content, repurposed it for the podcast. At the moment, Scoop is doing, 7 interviews or 5 interviews a week, in some cases. And so we don't really have the time to tailor the content all the way that we would do if we were recording a native podcast. But what we do is give a chance for people to check it out real time and at their convenience on a platform and on a media that just continues to grow, which is podcasting, even more so during the coronavirus.
No, of course. I mean, Scoop, are there many artists doing what you're doing, or are you kind of ahead of the curve, do you think?
There's a handful of people. Fat Joe is one that's doing it every single day. He's working really hard on it. There's another guy who's a promoter. His name is Kenny Burns. He does it. Of course, Talib Kweli had his thing going already, so he's doing it. For me, I just looked at it like this. I was in London, England. I was in England when this entire pandemic hit, and I started looking forward. And probably like 3 days out, they kind of said, "All right, we're gonna let you do one last show, and that's it. After that, tour over." And the night that we did the last show, I went back, and I was supposed to go back to my house the next morning. And I said, okay, I am essentially sacked from my business. That's it. It's over. And I said, okay, what am I going to do now? And I said to myself, you better pivot quickly, because history is written by the winners, and whoever gets to the finish line first is the man. You better pivot real quick. And I am a radio DJ by nature. I'm a radio presenter by nature. I did that for 17 years on Hot 97, and I've been doing it for 25 syndicated. So I was just like, let me get back to what I know how to do. And I made a decision to do this every single night. And the reason that I did it every night was because I knew that I had to get my reps up. Because you have to do what's hard until it becomes easy. All my other friends were like, nah, do it 2-3 times a week. No, we have to do this now. We have to put the hammer down. And there were so many other things in my life, other distractions and things that were going on. And I had to go to those people and say, look, right now I am not working. So that means theoretically, I'm not like you. I don't get a check put in my hand every Friday like a bird. Like, here, eat this check. No, whatever I kill is what I eat. So I said, listen, I'm going to explain something to everyone right now. I'm on a mission to get this thing onto television, onto a streaming platform, onto something. And I will not be around for a while. I will not be present. I will be in a zone because I have ADHD. So when I'm spacey, I'm spacey. But when I'm dialed in, I'm hyper dialed in. And I went ahead and approached my business like that. Again, I get up at 3:30 in the morning and I get up on Millionaire Time and I do all the things that I can do while the phone is not ringing. And then I do my other business I do. Then I go in the studio for 3 hours. Then I make 3 hours worth of phone calls and now here we are, it's time to do the show. Do the show, get off the show. I'll go and do the recap. I'll do all the points that I want my editor to take for the recap, and then I go to bed. And that goes over and over and over and over. And the one thing that I learned through this entire situation with COVID is this. Nothing in the world beats consistency. Nothing. So when I was on the road, I had about 82,000 followers, 83,000 followers. Once I got home and started doing this broadcast every day, I've gone from 83 to 114. So that's 83. That's 93, 103, and that's 103 and 114. That's almost like 20 maybe, 20 and some change. So the biggest thing that I can say to anybody is consistency is key. Whatever you're doing, you better do it, and you better do it like your life depends on it. If you and let me take it one step further for you. If you have a job, you better do it like your life depends on it. Because you could be out of that job soon. Or right now, at your job that you work for, they're looking at people who create value. Now, some people may say that that's ass kissing. Some people may say that that's brown nosing. Some people may say that's whatever. But here's the reality. If you are somebody who punches your thing in at 9 o'clock and you punch it out at 5, you're going to be without a job soon. The only people who are going to make it through this crisis are the people who create value. The only people who are going to make it through this crisis are the people who get up every day. So if you are one of those people, and I know a couple of them that have taken this entire crisis to sit on a couch or a chair and watch the best of Netflix, you are a loser, and you will get left at the end. Give yourself the best chance to win. Go to work now. And listen, you might not get paid for it right now, but you have to think forward and you have to work hard to get to that place. Right now, I'm not getting paid for this. I was lucky. I went on tour right before the pandemic hit. I have enough to make it. I'm not saying that I'm drowning in money. I'll be okay. I just got to be careful with what I do. But my goal is this. To work hard, to bust my behind, to make myself get some kind of platform deal or whatever, so that whatever I have in savings, I never spend. I only work with new money. And that's the game plan for me.
Mate, so inspiring, so true. Value first. I mean, I think every talk circles back to this. Absolutely back to this. If anything, it's the perfect way to sell, isn't it? I mean, you give value first. Raj, you bang on about this all the time. Give the value first, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that the key to unlocking that is understanding that because the world is always changing, you can always have a fresh opinion. You know, if you feel like you gave up everything that you know prior to February, well, now we live in a different world. So now you can go and restart and tell everything that you know again. Your 2 cents that you had before is now kind of invalid if it's pre-COVID, right? Or it needs to be at least updated. And so people don't want to give away everything that they know, and they operate from a place of scarcity, not realizing that the world is changing every day, and you can refresh and update your opinions based on the world we're in today, and then share that and still continue to be valuable. I talk about Jamie Oliver a lot. So for those people outside the UK, he's a very famous TV chef, if not one of the most famous. And he, in his TV show, the show starts with him talking about what he's going to make. Then he goes to the market, he buys the vegetables, he buys the salmon, he shows you which ones he's buying, why those instead of others, goes home, makes the marinade, shows you how long he marinades it, leaves it inside the oven, shows you how he plates it up, puts it in front of you on the TV with all of his beautiful friends sharing the food. He gives away everything. And yet if you want to go to his restaurant to eat that same salmon and vegetable dish, it's going to cost you £20. Why? When he shows you how to do it, is because you can't give away enough information. People like, what if I podcast every day? What if I IG live every day? What if I blog every day? Won't people get sick of me? Are you crazy? Do you know how hard it is to cut through all the noise with the civil unrest, the COVID-19, things that are going on in your local town, your niece's first baby steps coming through on a video on WhatsApp? People are looking at this and not realizing that this 5.5-inch smartphone right here is a multi-million pixel democracy, and every single pixel on here is there to be fought for. And the one thing that we teach in the 4 Ps of Content workshop is I use the Tupac analogy, which is that people think that Tupac's got a song called All Eyes on Me. They think as soon as you start making content, the all eyes are going to be on you. But in reality, it's much more like Tupac, Me Against the World. You can make that hot IG live like Fatman Scoop does, but Fatman Scoop and myself and yourself, Tim, no matter what we produce, we're all competing with somebody's phone that could just as easily flick over to the Beatles' greatest hits, that could just as easily flick over to a meme of a cat on a skateboard, that could just as easily flick over to something crazy that Kanye or Donald Trump said. And it's everything. It's just a digital, nonstop, live, like real-time democracy on your phone for things fighting for your attention. And you got to produce
value, yeah. That's why you need the value to stand out.
Yeah. And as you produce at scale, you get better and better, right? So the reason why I'm able to just at the drop of a dime give you a rant like this is because I've given it 1,000 times. For 2 decades, I've been telling people, here's where the market's going. And especially over the last decade, as digital's become a really big thing, or the last 15 years, you stay ready. The more content you make, the more you stay ready for when that phone call comes and it's Viacom saying, hey, Fatman Scoop, we're trying to sign you. What can you give us? Or when someone rings me and says, oh, this is the Abu Dhabi marketing conference. We need a keynote speaker. Here's a check. The more content you put out, the more you prime yourself for when that big content opportunity happens. And that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give right now, is to not to fear the scale, put out as much content as you can. It benefits your audience, it benefits you, and only good things can happen from it as long as you're doing it from a place of good intent.
Well, I've got a question for Scoop, actually. If you hadn't have done this, do you think you would have had the return of investment on your followers by doing a tour?
No, not at all. I was doing it my way, kind of half-assing and putting up stuff whenever. And I was, my movement was kind of slow. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of slow. There was times that I was catching it and go up another 5 or 6, but it was never 20 or 30 or whatever. It was never those kind of numbers. And consistency is the key. There's a couple of things that you have to understand. I know a lot of you guys don't understand the game of baseball, but I'm gonna walk you through it. In baseball, it's almost like the Premier League, actually. In the Premier League, you have under leagues like 15 and under, or under 18 or whatever. And those leagues, yeah, you play for Liverpool, you play for whatever, but there's no one there. Maybe it's a handful of people. Maybe some of those games are played and nobody's in attendance, right? But you have to keep working. You have to keep working, and eventually you'll get to what we call in America the show. And the show is when 75,000 people are in the building. So again, you have to keep creating your content whether someone's watching or not. Because here's what you never know. There was a DJ in America named D Nice, okay? And D Nice basically was the first person during the COVID crisis to break the internet. He broke Instagram. He was the first person to have like 130, 150, 170,000 people in an Instagram live. It's what I call the D Nice moment. You have to keep working hard because you'll get your D Nice moment, that one time when everything falls into place and followers just come out of nowhere. But if you haven't put the work in and you haven't created the content, there's nothing for them to watch.
True.
There's nothing for them to see when they get there. So D Nice was just a celebrity DJ, and he was going about his business. And one day he decided to turn on his Instagram Live and DJ. And one thing led to another, and it led to another, and then Michelle Obama was in there, and then Joe Biden was in there, and then Barack Obama was in there, and Bernie Sanders, and Rihanna, and all these people, DJ Khaled, and it got so big that he got to like 100, almost 200,000 people were in this one room. So that's like 4 Liverpool stadiums or 4 Manchester United stadiums. And what happened was he didn't know it was gonna happen. He just did what he usually does. He didn't know it was gonna happen. He had 200,000 followers. Next thing you turn around, the next morning you have 1.7 million followers. But if you don't have any content for them to consume in the times that nobody was really watching you, what do your fans have to consume? Nothing. So I would just say keep working. For me, this is a day in, day out process. I get up in the morning, I make phone calls. Some of those phone calls turn into a no. Some of those phone calls turn into a yes. Some of those phone calls turn into a, hey man, give me a week or so. Let me figure out what I could do. It's continually putting our seeds in the ground and harvesting. And I work hard for that. When I first went on Instagram Live, I had 3 people on my live. That means I could have got on the phone with 2 of those people, and we could have just had a 3-way call. Now I'm up to 300 by myself. And then when somebody comes on, it's 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, 8,000. And every time that I go on with somebody, I do my best. And when they leave, their followers are still staying there. There'll be a drop off, but that person's followers are still there. At that point, I turn it on. I do whatever I got to do to be funny. I do whatever I got to do to be insightful. I do whatever I got to do to be crazy. And you know something? I'll experience a 15% drop off. Then in the first 5-10 minutes, I'll take another 10%, will walk away. But the rest of those people, they stay with me. And each and every day, I gain followers and I gain fans. And that's it. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop until I get to where I need to go. Our problem and my problem is that I start things, but I don't finish them. COVID has given me an opportunity to start something and see it all the way through to the end. And that's the one thing that everybody here has to understand. You can start something, but if you don't finish it, then you've done nothing.
Yeah. COVID has taken away the distractions of life, hasn't it?
100% on every level. If COVID was not here, we probably would have been too distracted to see George Floyd, but we saw it.
Yeah, so true.
So that's what it is.
Yeah, agree with that.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, man. Thanks for that. I mean, what you're saying there, leveraging the network from other artists as well. I mean, it just goes to show how collaborations are such a fundamental part of this process. Like, it's one of the C's that we pitch in one of the workshops we teach. Collaborations are just huge. Like, look at you guys are collaborating. So like, Raj, let's talk a little bit about your collaboration a little bit more in terms of detail and how you guys support each other and how that benefits, because I'm getting a few questions popping up about how you do this and how you do that. And Scoop, you said earlier on, you don't know everything. I think that's important. That's a very important message that people, I think, need to adhere to, because you don't have to know it all, but you probably know someone who does know how to do it. So, I mean, Raj, let's expand on that, because I think that's a very important part to
so a lot of you guys know that, like, I work with a guy called Vic. He heads up operations in the creative content agency, and we probably speak around sometime between 7 and 10 every morning. And prior to that time, I think he knows as well, when he jumps on the call, that it's just going to be a barrage of things that I've studied that morning. I love to study. I love to see who's great and what they're great at doing. And so I can see stuff coming around the corner. I've got a really good ability to look over a couple of horizons and see who's really, really good. And that's led to be the basis of a lot of my collaborations. So you go back to, I guess, the early years, like the late 90s and the 2000s, like launching songs like Little Bit of Luck by DJ Luck, MC Neat, Monster Boy, I'm Sorry. Jump forward to 2004, 2005, meeting Russell Peters, him being gracious enough to let me host a couple of after parties for him in 05, 06. Jump forward again, working with companies in LA and seeing those companies get sold for multi-millions of dollars, meeting Scoop, meeting the Wu-Tang Clan, specifically Raekwon the Chef, Gary Vaynerchuk, very, very early in his career. So many people that I live through those collaborations, but I have to be very clear. I love collaborating with people that are at the absolute top of their game, number one. And number two, I think my particular style of collaboration has a little bit more risk attached to it. So back in 2005, Russell Peters wasn't number 3 on Forbes as the top earning comic. Back in 2008, Gary Vaynerchuk wasn't one of the most influential entrepreneurs in the world. I must admit that when Scoop and I first became friends, he was already famous as hell. Like he had one of the biggest records in the world and an MTV deal and radio and whatever else. But Scoop is a rare person who we become friends when they're already kind of like at the peak of their career. So I think, my collaboration formula is finding somebody who comes from a very authentic place, who's clearly a natural expert. So if you look at what has natural ability, if you look at Russell Peters, there's never not a funny day in his life. If you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, there's never a day where that person isn't an incredible entrepreneur. And so that's really the way that I collaborate, is that I look for people that I'm like, this person's just behaving in their most natural way. It doesn't matter where they are in their life. And hopefully by aligning with them, we can take them to a higher place. And specifically with regards to myself and Scoop, I just like Scoop as a person. I think, I don't care if we never do another deal again. He's just a funny dude. He makes me laugh. I enjoy being around him. We eat, we talk, we meet in different countries. It's just, I just feel like we're getting a bit bromantic here, Scoop, getting a bit bromancy here, bro. But like, you feel me? Like, he's a good human being. I'm sure if we were both working in a sandwich factory, we'd probably, be friends and go for drinks afterwards.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, isn't it? I mean, it's Scoop. I mean, credit to you. I mean, it sounds like you and Raj have got a really strong relationship. I mean, I'd love to kind of get your feedback, both from you, from this point of how do people, let's say here, develop those relationships with maybe the natural experts, you say, Raj. How would you do that? Would you, again, do that through the value of your service? How would you recommend people start that collaboration?
I mean, you've got to start to know them better than they know themselves. Like you've got to really obsess over an expert and their ability and their point of view on the world, the way that you might obsess over every single feature of a camera and how that's used in every single situation, every single feature of a car and how you can drive every single car, the way that we break down laptops and technology and the way that we study.
You're basically saying research then. So like you and Scoop, for example, let's just say let's talk about your collaboration. You knew everything about Scoop before you even met him. Is that what you're saying?
No, so I did research Scoop ahead of our first interview when our relationship was interviewer and interviewee back in 2006 or 7 or 8 or whenever it was, a long time ago. So that was a little bit different, I would say, because I was going out there trying to get interviews in a way that I guess Scoop is doing now. But I would say with regards to collaborations is that, people like to collaborate in a frictionless way. So when somebody wants to collaborate with me, I'm really, really open if I know that they've watched all my videos, they've understood my point of view. I don't need to reteach them stuff from basics that's already been online. And so I find it easy to start on the second or third floor with them. So that's my advice for like a collaboration. Now, specifically with myself and Scoop, it's like myself and yourself, Tim. Like me and you, Tim, have changed Dubai. Like we through our collaborations, through my friends, your friends, and that you can collaborate either through spending a lot of time researching people before you approach them and offer them value, or you can just speak to them on such a frequent basis because you like them that a natural way to work together just presents itself every so often.
It says you're more ethical. You just basically just go in and just want to be friends with them. That's the agenda. There's no money incentive. Do you agree with that, Scoop?
In my line of work, you just got to take a chance.
Okay.
You know, a closed mouth does not get fed. So you just got to ask. It's all about your approach. It's a little bit of approach, timing, and luck. You know, if you walk up to Raekwon the chef, or if you walk up to, Jadakiss, or if you walk up to Drake, all right, that interaction is a little bit of right place, right time, luck, and taking a chance. Number one, some people won't take the chance to walk up on Drake. They'll just say, inside they'll be like, oh, I shouldn't do it. Maybe I'm going to look crazy. If you feel that in your chest, you better start walking towards Drake. Because you can't be scared to introduce yourself. All that can happen is somebody say no. Half of people losing is that they didn't even take the chance.
It's so true.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've been in situations where there's somebody in the room, and I'm like, man, I don't want to play myself going up to them. But I have to suck it up and say, wait, hold on. I got to do this right now. Because right here, right now is when it has to be done. And I got to be the coach in my mind and coach myself into walking up. Yo, what's going on, bro? Fatman Scoop here, whatever. And I always say my name no matter whether people know me or not, because I don't take it for granted that they know me. Another thing is that life happens, and sometimes you just got to go with the flow. And sometimes you got to just pray for luck. Like, again, walking up to Drake, you don't know how that outcome's going to be. His security could go like this, right? His security could just go, hey, bro, no. Drake could see something in your face and say, nah, let him through, man, let him through. Now when you get through the door, now what are you going to say now? Hey, Drake, you got 30 seconds to say whatever you're going to say to Drake. Hey, Drake, man, I've been trying to do so and so and so. I'm a producer. I just want you to hear one beat. That's it. Bang, you better have it ready. So you got to have your phone right there ready. And you got to be ready to play that beat. Because here's the thing. If you get next to somebody and you're not ready to go, you got a certain amount of time before they walk away.
Yeah.
So it's right time, be prepared, and be ready to take action immediately. And that's what I say in terms of collaborating in my space. Number two is, if there's somebody you think you can collaborate with, don't be afraid to approach him. Don't be afraid to hit him. You know how many Instagram DMs I send out? I send DMs out. I sent a DM out 2 days ago to Jamie Foxx. Yo, Jamie, what's good? Yo, bro, I need to get in touch with you. Now, here's another piece to the game. If you don't get an answer, what's the next move you're gonna make?
Follow up.
Okay, so now you're not getting a DM back, right? So now I'm saying, okay, I'm not getting a DM back from Jamie Foxx. What am I going to do? I start researching who I know that knows Jamie Foxx. Give you a good example. I'll give you even a better example. Here, I'll give you a better example that makes sense. I DM Mike Tyson. I'm like, yo, Mike, what's good, man? It's Fatman Scoop. I'm looking for you. I want you to be on my podcast. No answer, right? So now I go to somebody that I know that knows Mike Tyson. He's like, yo, Mike, I can't get to Mike right now because so and so and so. And I keep talking, and I put the energy out there. Yo, I want to get Mike Tyson on my show. Just randomly, I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him right there. And he says, yo, I'm saying, Mike Tyson. He said, yo, what are you talking about? Like Mike Tyson's, the guy who does Mike Tyson's podcast, who set it up, that's my guy. We're good. Blah, blah, blah. Now I got that in the pocket.
Wow. Crazy. And you could have given up. You could have just been like, nah, Jamie Foxx, or Mike Tyson hadn't responded. Move on.
No, you can't move on. You got to.
I know, but I'm saying you could have. That's the beauty of it.
You got to keep looking. For example, Shaquille O'Neal. I know Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal knows me, but I can't get to him. So I said, wait a minute, hold on. Who made a record with him? He made a record with him. All right, let me get in touch with him, put him on my show, and then I can turn around and get him. For example, Damon John is a good friend of mine from Shark Tank, right? All right, so I did an interview with Damon. Damon's my guy. I turned back around. I'm like, yo, Damon, man, I need help with getting to Mark Cuban. You can't be afraid to ask. You can't be afraid to work. If you're anything you're gonna do in life, there's a struggle to it. If you don't get scraped, if you don't have bruises and bumps from going through your journey, you're not doing nothing. And anything that is hard to do takes work. And if it was easy, everybody could do it. And this is no disrespect to somebody who works at McDonald's or Burger King or Nando's or whatever, but if it's a job that people can do easily, they'll pay you for it. That's it. The people who make the most money do the jobs that is really, really hard to do. They either take skill, guts, or hard-ass work. What I do is interview people. I'll eventually get a deal for this, and I won't get a deal for the time that I put in. I'm going to get a deal for this. Hey, Fatman Scoop, we see that you're interviewing somebody on an iPad, okay? You just got a backdrop, okay? But you're finding the people, you're putting the questions together, you're editing it. If you can do this by yourself, what can you do with a team of 7 people behind you and $100,000 per show? And what can you do if we put you in front of 15 million households instead of the 115,000 you got? That's what you get paid for.
Mate, I think you've missed your vocation in life. I think you should be a business coach, if I'm honest.
I mean, there'll be some of that down the road too. I just have to I have to do each thing at a time. I have an online course about the music industry that I'm about to complete because I've been so hard and heavy on this Instagram and getting it stable. I haven't done it, but once, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to hop into that. And I'm going to do consulting and coaching when it comes to the music industry. So that's another thing. People, one stream of income never cut it before. But now more than ever, you better have 3 or 4. And I'll be completely transparent and use myself as a good example. I make a lot of money performing. I take it around this world. On an average year, I circle the globe at least 60 times. I do at least 600,000 to 800,000 miles worth of travel a year. I make a lot of money doing Fatman Scoop and have a lot of fun doing it. And I said to myself, yo, listen, I'm on cruise control. Yeah, I got my radio show and all that stuff, but I'm on cruise control. I'm good, just going through. My business got destroyed. Now what? Now, let's just say that I would have had the foresight to be doing Instagram Live every night or a podcast every week, right? By now, 3 or 4 years in, I'd have $15,000 a month coming in from podcasts. I'd be selling my time on Instagram and doing business deals and XYZ. I had 3, 4 different places of income. I could have probably sold my course on YouTube. Now I got 3 or 4 different streams of income coming in where I'm not just dependent on this one. And the final thing I want to say is this. You can do the brick and mortar. You can do the face-to-face. That's all good. But your digital you better get down with your digital because that's the move forward. What if we turn around and there's another lockdown for 4 months? Then what? Everything that you do, you better find a digital component for it. I don't care if you're selling underwear. I don't care if you're a barber. You better find a digital component for that because that's where it's going.
Yeah, we're very big on that, mate. Asset creating. It saves you multiple streams of revenue. You're completely right. For the hindsight's a wonderful thing, Raj, I mean, you're big on that, digital assets. The thing is, Raj, you've got a product ecosystem. You've always had that. I've noticed that about you. For me, one of the things that I struggle with is that I had production. We did our line production work. We used to do things with like Red Bull, Will Smith, the Pope. You know, we did a lot of really big production work, but it was all physically shooting, nothing online. Couldn't serve our clients online. There was the delivery, the method of delivery change wasn't there. And what you've done is that your tours obviously were to cater to a fan base. What you've done is you've taken the method away, and Seb talks about this, our co-host. You changed the delivery. You basically just pivoted, now just doing online, but doing it through valuable interviews and interviewing other influential people and leveraging the network. So you're actually doing the same thing. Your mission to serve your fan base is still the same. It's just the delivery is completely swapped. And I think that's what people just need to sit down. You mentioned earlier about using your skill set and what people need. And you said, you've got to find a way to make a digital component online. Is that where it starts? What's the first step for a business owner to sit down and go, right, how the hell do I get online? What's the first step?
Who are you asking me?
Well, both of you. I mean, Scoop, let's go with you first.
I think you just have to sit down and you say, well, what do I have to offer? So I'm selling widgets. I'm selling widgets. Okay. What kind of widgets do I have? Are they shippable? Can I? Yeah, I'm in Dubai selling widgets, but can I sell widgets in Russia? And then the second thing is to say, all right, what way am I going to sell this? Am I going to sell it on a website? Am I going to do my business through Instagram? Am I going to do my business through Facebook? And then if you don't know those particular platforms, getting someone that does know them to help you. I'll give you a good example. I am doing interviews. Now, with interviews, if you get eyeballs, you can make money on YouTube. And in a second, Instagram Live is going to have a component where they will give you ad revenue. I don't know a lot about YouTube. I just learned how to really post my stuff up and do keywords and certain things. My daughter is at home during the COVID with me, so she's in the next room. So I begged, I asked, and I yelled, and I cajoled, and I did anything I could to ask her to help me learn YouTube. I went and brought her 2 courses about YouTube, one about how to do it, and the second one about how to advertise on YouTube. And I have her reading those courses and absorbing that information. And then I told her, I said, listen, if you help me to get to where I need to go, I'll help you by getting you a car. So I had no way to pay her, but what I did was I said, if I give her an incentive and we work hard to make it happen, then she'll get what she wants. So part of a deal is everybody's got to walk away with something that they want. A deal is not when you take advantage of me and when you pillage me. A deal is when we both walk away and we both get something. So the carrot in this situation is my daughter wants a car. I want to give her a car. In non-COVID world, I would have just brought her a car and we would have kept it moving. But now I have to create a stream of income in order to make that work. So I said, listen, I need you. I need your help. You're young. You understand all these platforms. Please help your dad. And then she jumped in. She's studying it now. She's reading it. And when we get it all together, I'll take it, we'll execute, and whatever comes out of it, I'll give it to her. And that's the same way that you have to run your business. Now, that's a little bit different. When you run a business, you can't go to your daughter and say, listen, work for free. But what you can do again is you can create alliances. You can do things where you help somebody and they help you. It's the same thing. It's just in my personal situation, it's a little bit more peer-to-peer personal, but take the same blueprint and apply it to your business.
So true. It's just basic trade swapping. If you look at it, taking your daughter and maybe swapping that as another example for another business, how can you leverage each other's trades to benefit mutually?
Exactly.
Going back to collaboration. Yeah.
So maybe there's a guy that's an Instagram expert, an Instagram influencer. Okay, so we're gonna ride together. Here's what we're gonna do. You'll handle the Instagram for me. Whatever. If the product is $20.99, I give you $4.99 each time there's a sale made. I don't have any money now, but if you're willing to work and do this, then down the line, as I grow and I get my legs back under me, you have a client now. If you're at home and you have no client, you have nothing, take this risk. It's worth a risk. And that's the way you have to approach it, and that's the way you have to come at people. And this time is about deal making. This time is not about a bunch of people being cash rich. This is about, let's make a deal that's beneficial to both of us, and let's try to work what we have.
Amazing. We've just had a question pop up from Saj. And guys, anyone watching, we're on the tail end of this interview now. So anyone who wants to give Scoop a question or Raj a question, please drop them in the comments below. Raj just said regarding increasing content, what is the priority? Selling awareness, technical content, education. I think we've circled this a few times. It's going to be value, isn't it? It's education, things like that. Do you agree, Raj?
Yeah, I mean, as the world gets more competitive and whatever it is that you're trying to teach or however you're trying to offer value, like I said, it's going to be you versus a bunch of people that are trying to offer value in the same way. And whilst you might be the most gifted person when it comes to your subject matter, that doesn't really matter if the people don't know the difference. And so you can be super talented, and the only way that you can stand out is by being more consistent. Now, consistency works in two different ways, but this is to Scoop's point. Consistency is really, really important. You can go one of two ways. One is you can do what Will Smith said, which is he may not be like the best at everything versus everybody, but if you put a treadmill versus somebody else, he'll keep running and he'll keep running until he dies. So in that moment, you can go harder than everybody else. Alternatively, you can do what I do. Look at my Instagram. There's maybe on a good month, I have 3,600 followers. I don't have the quote unquote numbers. My YouTube followers is below 1,000. But the people that text me back when I ask them for stuff will blow your freaking head off. Why? Because from a project perspective, I've been consistent. Launching big records in the garage genre in the 90s and 2000s, going to Canada in 2003 and getting deep in the ringtones game when ringtones were like crack out here. Coming back and working in the movie industry with, you know, being very fortunate to work with people like Dynamo, who I know from the streets anyway, and doing projects with him. 2008, you know, Gary, and then 5, 6, 7 years later, launching Vayner World, Love Soul TV with Vic, meeting people like Fatman Scoop and Raekwon, and these guys are my OGs right now. Like, I might not be consistent in terms of putting out the most podcasts in one blast, doing the most IG lives in one blast, but when you look over a 20-year span, I'm here. And honestly, bro, like, this is just real talk, and maybe I'm just getting loose on the interview right now. I've not had a bad year probably ever, bro, since I've been in the game.
Wow.
And probably not a bad month, and probably not a bad week. #1 champion. Honestly, truthfully speaking, I mean, I've taken losses. I've gone home some nights with less money in my pocket than I had when I left out and I went out that night. You know what I'm saying? Or like on a project or on a deal, could lose a few thousand here or a few tens of thousands. You know, we can lose money here and there, but my consistency, the fact that when something new happens and I show up and I take part and I take a risk and I pay dues and show the respect, that is one way that you can really, really get to where you want to get to. You can do what Scoop's doing right now and be in the moment and go all in and hold on to that the way that Will Smith does. Hold on to it until everybody else stops running on the treadmill and he's the last one. Or you can just jump on and off treadmills, but make sure that every single time a new treadmill comes out, you jump on it. Ringtones, I was there. Online content, I was there. Media and publishing in LA in 2007, I was there. Podcasts, I was there. Events and collaborations in Dubai, I was there. Very much thanks to you, Tim. I say it every single time I can because I've never exchanged money for your services. But every single time I can shout out FTEN, I do. Because we changed culture here, man.
Yeah, true. Amazing. Thank you, guys.
I mean, that's just real.
So true. Next question, go on from Sab here. Have you seen the music and entertainment industry adapt to the pandemic, and what do you see as a permanent change for the future? Scoop, how do you think the music industry is going to shift permanently after COVID?
As far as songs and music, it hasn't changed. Checks are still getting cut for remixes. I did one with Missy Elliott. Checks are still getting cut for that. You know, Nothing like nothing. I think that the way it's consumed live will change for a year or two. And I think we need to figure out what our platform is going to be for performing. And is it cool to be DJing for free and all of that right now? Yes. But eventually this is going to subside. It's already coming down and starting to subside. So now when are we going to start? When are we going to make the decision to get paid for what we do again? And how are we going to do that?
That's a good question. How do we do that?
So that's the main thing. How are we going to get paid for what we do? And what's going to be the platform? What's going to be the platform that allows us to do that? For me, I'm going to start slow with 50 people or 100 people. So, hey, people, listen, if you want to have 100 of you guys come through for 100 of your friends come through for 25 quid, come on with it. Come on with it. I'll shout all of y'all out. We'll make it a night. You can put it up on your Instagram. Oh, I was with Fatman Scoop. He was DJing. All right, that's what we're going to do. And once I get that to 100, then God willing, I get it to 200. And so forth and so forth. How are you going to take your brand and vertical it, so to speak? All right, so yeah, you now doing the Zoom Live or whatever it is. How are you going to sell your T-shirts? How are you gonna connect this to your Cash App or your Zelle or whatever the thing is that you use to collect money so they can donate to you? How you gonna do it? So my first goal is to stabilize my IG where I do it with my eyes closed. I'm close to that. My next business move is to be able to I set myself up so in the morning I get up, I do whatever interview it is for the day, I get everything together, I get to run the show together, and then I do the little editing or whatever, and then I do my phone calls, and then I go downstairs every day, and do at least 2 songs. Whether that's a TikTok going, cover your mouth, get your boyfriend, or whatever dumb thing that I do that I can put on TikTok, or whether it's a record or whether it's a remix for something, being consistent. Because the one thing that I learned throughout this pandemic is consistency, hard work, it's going to always get you where you need to go. So yeah. I'm at 100. I was at, like I said, like 80,000. I'm at like 115 now, right? So 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, 115, 25,000. Now let's say that I turn around and I start doing music consistently. Because I have my own video equipment, I have my own editing equipment. Say I shoot a video a week or a video every 10 days, and I keep dropping. People love music, so my number's gonna go from 114 to 214. Now here's where the fun starts. You got 215,000 followers. If 1% of those followers buy your product, what do you have?
You have a client. You have 2 clients.
So let's just say that, let's say 215,000, right? 10% of 215,000 is 21,500. 1% is 2,150. So let's even cut that in half. Let's say 5% of 1%, half of 1%, right? That's 1,000 people or something. 1,000 people or something, right? If 1,000 people can buy this, I'm working on my mixtape sweater. What do I have?
Oh, a lot of money. You have a lot of money. That's one thing we've not mentioned, guys. You've actually started a clothing line. I'm social distancing still. I mean, I've checked it out. It's pretty awesome. Absolutely very cool. How long did it take you to get all that together, for example? Because that's something you've not even mentioned. You've done that as well.
I mean, I had my friends at Arctic Gray, and if you guys want anything done on Shopify, go to Arctic Gray, ARTICGREY. They're a design company for Shopify. They're Shopify verified, and they did all my stuff for me. I tell you this, in business, you always got to be ready for the curve. And when I mean the curveball, I went and made these shirts, and I was selling them. I'm starting to sell them. I was about 100 in, 150 in, and you know what happened? COVID made it so that every time that the people got sick in the factory, they had to shut the factory down. So now instead of taking 2 days to get to you, it takes 4 weeks to get to you. Now I got a bunch of people complaining. Yo, where's my shirts? And the one thing is that you can have a lot of goodwill, but if something bad happens with your business, it can be eroded in 30 seconds. I stopped selling the shirts. I stopped selling everything. And what I did was yesterday I bought a heat press. And I'm going to put that heat press in my little area, in my storage area. And when I get the calls, I don't care if it's 20 shirts a day, if it's 50, if it's 100, I'll be down there in the middle of the night going, boom, boom, boom. I'll be doing that all night. And I will service those people. And if it gets too big for me, I'll get some young kid to come in and he'll do it. The bottom line is business is a minefield. It's a minefield. You gotta be able to move, pivot, and do everything you have to do, and you have to be fluid enough to do it like this and fluid enough to do it like that. And at the end of the day, if you want to be in business and you want to survive in business, you gotta be resilient. You got to be consistent, you've got to be hungry, and you've got to be focused. If you're not going to do that, you're not going to make it. And I don't care who it is, whether you're in Dubai or Dubai, Texas, or you're at the Dubai gas station in New York City. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And here's the thing. The final thing I want to say about this, and then I'll just leave it to you guys. Education is always key. Be careful about what you spend your time on. The most important asset we have is time. Down to the point that I use a stopwatch for everything that I do. I put the stopwatch on. I'm like, oh, how long am I doing this? How long am I doing this? How long am I doing this? Because all we have is time. So if you're wasting your time hanging out, if you're wasting your time watching movies, and listen, like I said, I have a lot of friends that are watching movies. I told them once, I'm not going to beat you in the head with it. If you don't walk out of this with a new skill, a new job, a new line of work, you lost.
Wow.
Because you had all day to do it. You got your job paused. So now instead some of y'all don't have to work. Some of y'all have physical work where you have to do something. Now you're at home 8 hours a day. What's your excuse? What's your excuse going to YouTube University and learning what you want to do? What's your excuse for going after your dream? What's your excuse now? What is it? So if you don't walk out of this with something, man, you're a loser. Period.
So true. So true. Man, Scoop, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, hearing from you.
Thank you.
I want to just talk a bit about how people can just be a part of your immense growth right now. So people, obviously, Instagram, you're doing the 6 p.m. Eastern time Make Some Noise podcast.
Yes.
Tell everyone how else can people keep in touch with you.
Well, here's the thing. I understand that 6 p.m. in New York City is what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Is it like 2 o'clock in the morning in Dubai?
2 a.m.
Right.
I
don't expect you to do that unless you work overnight.
Well, so, you'd have a strong fan base if they get up at 2 for you, mate. Here, that's good.
But it's very easy. Every night I interview somebody on Instagram Live. Tonight is Dr. Oz. He's basically America's doctor. And then Thursday is Dougie Fresh, and Friday is Chuck D. And I'm working on Chris Rock and a couple other people. I've had so many people on the show from conservative Firebrand, Candace Owens to LL to everybody. All you have to do is go on my Instagram at Fatman Scoop. And listen, you don't have to watch it then. The replay will be there. If the replay is not up on the page, all you got to do is hit my IG, my Instagram TV logo, which is the one in the middle of my profile. Just hit that, and you can see every interview I've done with Snoop and everybody else. And It's on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Fatman Scoop. You can get it there. And of course, the Make Noise podcast, which you can get it on Apple or any place that podcasts are available. 3 ways to get it.
Amazing. All right, guys, we're going to put this in the description as well if you're watching this video later. Scoop, thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time. It's an absolute privilege and honor to hear your words, and very inspirational, honestly. You're a true entrepreneur. And Raj, thank you once again for coming on and giving us value. You guys have an amazing night. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Shout out to everybody at FTEN. I appreciate you guys. Much love.
All right, take care, guys.
Peace and peace.